What's going on, guys? It's Dave again. We are back today with a little bit of a different build. This build is actually for my buddy Kyle. You might remember Kyle, we did the Tank Warrior build almost a year ago now. This build's for his wife, who sees what he plays and really wants to get into gaming as well. So this build, though, was a much tighter budget. Kyle's build was right around $1,200, $1,300. We spent $850 in total for all of this, and we even got a little bit of RGB in it. So, let's build. After several days of going back and forth with parts, Kyle finally decided on going with an Asus Prime X470 Pro motherboard and paired that with an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X. For the games that his wife will be playing, this 6-core 12-thread processor is more than enough to achieve 60 frames per second on a 1080p monitor. I removed the socket mounting lugs, threw on some Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut, and then mounted the Wraith Spire cooler. Now, the Corsair HD120 fans was not the first option I had showed Kyle, but once we had all the parts picked out, we only had about $60 to work with left in the budget. This knocked out all the other options but the HD120 fans, which, at the time of purchase, was only about 50 bucks. Lucky for Kyle, Micro Center had 3200 MHz Corsair Vengeance DDR4 on sale, and he couldn't pass that up. The original spec for this build had a 1660 Super in it, but it sold out by the time Kyle was ready to purchase. So Kyle picked up an Asus TUF 1660 OC Edition GPU from Micro Center. To make sure Kyle's wife had plenty of power and plenty of room to upgrade in the future if she wanted, I spec'd out an EVGA Supernova 650W GQ power supply. Before I dive into the wiring, I have to do a power on test. My track record with plugging in fans is not really that great, but this one turned out okay. And thus commences the life-sucking abyss of wiring. Now, on the back side of the motherboard tray, there are two cable tracks that make it more convenient to route cables and tie them down. This was especially beneficial when it came to the 8-pin EPS connector and the 24-pin main motherboard connector. Wiring for this case was actually not as bad as other builds I've done in the past. To be honest, this is probably one of the best wiring jobs I've ever done. I think I used somewhere around 30, maybe 40 zip ties in total for this build. I even added a few more off camera just to satisfy the OCD in me. But it was well worth it in the end. Once again, I forgot to record the SSD install. I know, shame on me. I will say that Kyle bought a Samsung 860 EVO 1TB SSD for about 110 bucks when he went to Micro Center. I loaded up Windows and made sure all the drivers were installed and up to date. Everything seems to be working great. Kyle's wife can run every game she plays on medium or higher settings without any problems. I know before all of this Kyle was talking to me about pre-builds, but he is much happier that he went with a full custom build. Knowing all the parts inside is why you don't buy it, you DIY it. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.